klassen i år er den største, som vi har set i mange år. Vi har før i tiden set felter i Danmark på en 10-12 biler, hvor vi i år kører med et felt på et sted mellem 25 og 30 biler.
Det store Formel Ford-felt gør konkurrencen knivskarp, og allerede i første omgang kører 2 af de førende svenskere hinanden af banen. Der skal præsenteres resultater for at avancere til de større formelbiler på den internationale arena. Men betingelserne er forskellige. Finnerne fører således en udpræget elitepolitik.
De udvælger nogle få hurtige kører, og så kører de dem simpelthen op helt forbundet af. De bruger ikke sådan noget halvvejs færdiggjort noget. Altså de hjælper deres kører hele vejen igennem, både økonomisk og socialt og psykisk også. Der skal jo masser af psykisk træning til os og sådan noget.
Kan man sige noget om, hvor meget betyder motoren, og hvor meget betyder køreren?
Køreren er helt sikkert det, der er mest vigtigt. Det er det, fordi motoren er så ens. Så det primære, det er køreren, og så hvem der er bedst til at stille bilen op.
Er du god til det?
Det ved jeg ikke. Jeg gør mit bedst.
Jesper Willumsen, hvordan kan det egentlig lade sig gøre at være landstræner inden for motorsport, når sportsfolkene ikke har nogen træningsmuligheder?
Jamen det kan det jo faktisk heller ikke, men vi må jo på samme måde som de alpine skiløbere forsøge at få det bedste ud af de få træningsmuligheder, vi har. Og det er sådan set det, der er min opgave, det er at udnytte den smule træning, vi har. Og det vi måske især effektiviserer det ved, det er at gøre kørerne mere bevidste om, hvad det er, der sker mellem hovedet og dækkene. Altså ned igennem affjering og så videre. Få dem til at tænke mere over, hvad det er, der foregår. Så de kan træne mentalt hjemme på, havde nær sagt, sofaen.
De 3 bedste danskere på Anderstorp-banen er Brian Taulborg i den blå Formel Ford-bil, Allan Berndt i den gule og Jan Neumann med hvid farve i en tæt formation. Og her på sidste omgang går det galt i et venstresving mellem Brian Taulborg og Jan Neumann. Begge havner ude i sandgraven, men det lykkes for Jan Neumann efter noget besvær at komme tilbage igen på asfalten. Og her slutter Allan Berndt i den gule som bedste dansker og tjener 20 DM-point. Brian Taulborg er resten.
Hvad fanden har gang i det anden gang?
Det er det da.
Jeg er da bare kørt med. Kan man ikke bare køre frem og i stedet for?
Nej.
Jan Neumann, Brian Taulborg mener, at du kører panisk i sidste omgang.
Nej, det mener jeg altså ikke. Men det er da ærgerligt, at vi ryger sammen. Ja, så jeg overhælder ham på indersiden. Jeg ligger inde på indersiden, og så vil han følges med mig rundt i svinget. Og så skrider jeg altså lidt ud, sådan så vi rører hinanden og fletter hjul.
Men hjulflætningen blev bedømt som farlig kørsel af løbsledelsen, og Jan Neumann derfor frataget sine 15 point i den danske afdeling af Formel Ford-klassen, der bliver et talenternes springbræt.
Jeg selv startede i Formel Ford også direkte fra go-kart, og jeg ser ikke noget andet springbræt for dansk banesport. Det er en overkommelig klasse, og det er en klasse, hvor man kan måle sig internationalt. Der køres jo over hele verden stort set i Formel Ford.
It was surprising really because we were driving 2 days testing here before and the time was quite good, but then on the time practice it was almost 1.5 seconds faster.
We are starting in a very high first gear, and I have never started with such a high first gear in before, so I'm a bit nervous about it.
This is the first round of the Nordic Formula Ford Championships, and we've just heard from Kalle Jokinen, who's in pole position and who broke the lap record in practice, and top Danish driver Brian Taulborg. There are 3 sets of points at stake today. It's the first round of the Nordic Championships, the 3rd round of the Scandinavian Formula Ford Cup, and the 4th round of the Danish Championships. Kalle Jokinen has 2 wins in the Scandinavian Cup and is in pole position in car 16. Fellow Finn Jan Lofgren is alongside, and then there are 2 Swedes, Nicholas Loben and keep an eye on Nicky Blum in car 45. I can tell you he doesn't hang around at the start for anybody. The fastest of the Danish drivers is Allan Berndt in car 57, and he's on the 4th row of the grid with fellow Danes Tolberg, Andersen and Neumann close behind. So can the flying Finn Kalle Jokinen win again? We'll soon find out. No, it's Nicky Bloom into the lead on the inside, and that's Lofgren and Jokinen clipping wheels. That could have been really nasty, but fortunately everybody seems to be safely negotiating the first bend. And as they come under the Honda bridge, it's the Red Van Diemen of Nicky Bloom in the front. Niklas Löwen is second, and then it's Jokinen and Lehokowski. And that's the way it stays into Carousel for the first time. The local fans are really rooting for the 27-year-old Niklas Löwen in second place. He comes from Gislaved, which is just a couple of miles away, and it's his first season for the Ichiban racing team, which is the largest racing team in Sweden. Out of Carousel, and that's Sami Lehokowski trying to drive out of a bunker. Goodness me, it's like Dodgems out there. I don't think Junior Team Finland would be pleased with that little manoeuvre from Mr. Lehokowski. Back now with the leaders, and it's still Bloom, Löwen and Jokinen all jockeying for position as they come up to Grandpa's Corner, the tough right-hander at the end of the long flight straight. Oi, 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 that was Bloom who clipped the back wheel of Löwen, and they're both in the sand and out of the race. What a disappointment for the Swedes. And Jokinen says thank you very much and helps himself to the lead. Second is Thomas Johansson, who's done really well to work his way up from the fourth row of the grid. And then comes Sami Lehokowski, who's made up 6 places, but there's no telling what his spell in the sand has done to his brand new Swift 92. After Lehokowski, it's Kjell Andersson, Jan Lofgren, Kenneth Anelo and 3 Danes, Alan Berndt, Brian Tolber and Jan Neumann, all fighting for valuable championship points. It's really amazing how these young drivers try to win it all on the first lap, and so often it ends like this. Back with the leaders now, and that's Johansson slipping neatly by Jokinen at the end of the straight. That really has given the Finns something to think about. Now Johansson in the SKF Van Diemen has to really concentrate, because Jokinen is going to stick like glue to his exhaust and wait for his chance. But the crowd are loving it. There's a Swede in the lead, and that's just what they want to see. Here come the rest of the cars, beginning to spread out now as the more experienced drivers work their way through the field. And Thomas Johansson leads into Carousel for the 3rd time. Jokinen is still right behind, then it's Andersson, Anelov and Lofgren. And the message seems to have got through by now: take it easy out of Carousel into pit straight. Johansson's really putting his foot down now. In 5th gear he'd be doing 230 kilometers an hour down flight straight, but Jokinen's slowly closing the gap, and now he's slipstreaming. I don't know if Johansson's slowing down, but Jokinen isn't. He says, anything you can do, I can do better, and retakes the lead. But you can see Johansson's not very happy. He's really pulling out all the stops now. And there's also a good scrap going on between these 6 cars. Anelo, Lofgren, Alan Berndt in his yellow Pennzoil Van Diemen, Brian Tolber in the Pentax team, Jan Neumann and Sami Lehokowski. But Lehokowski seems to have got a problem. He's driven off and he's definitely out of the race. Carousel again, and Jokinen's making no mistake. Driving with a great deal of authority. His It's not really been Lohkoski's day. First a sand trap, now he's ended up in the rough, and it's a long way back to Finland. Back on flight straight, Johansson's trying again, but not successful this time. And here's Jan Lofgren cruising through to 4th place. And the next 4 cars are really having a battle royal. Kenneth Anelo, Alan Berndt, Brian Tolbert and Jan Neumann. Coming into carousel, and Berndt tries to squeeze through on the inside and is very quickly shut down by Anelov. It's line abreast down pit straight, everyone concentrating on getting a good exit speed into flight straight. And here are the fighting 4 again, and this time Tolbert takes Berndt at the tail end of flight straight. And what would Berndt do about that? Well, just watch this. A quick switch inside and Bob's your uncle. And Jan Neumann's not being left out of the act. He takes the inside line into the corner and gains a place at Tolbert's expense. Jokinen still very much in control, going into carousel. Then it's Johansson, Andersson, and Lofgren. And lots of private little battles all the way through the field. Formula Ford, the largest racing class in the world, and it's usually the class that most of the leading go-kart drivers choose as the first step towards a career in motor racing. It's certainly good enough for Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell. Just a couple of more laps to go now, and there's a lot more urgency from those with a chance of points. And that was Lars Larsen slipping into the sand at the end of flight straight. But Berndt, Anelov, Neumann and Tolbert are really having a battle royal here. And with 1.5 laps to go, it's still Jokinen in the lead, Johansson second, Andersson third, Lofgren fourth, and Berndt fifth. And that's Neumann keeping it tight on the pit straight and moving past Anelo. And here comes the Pentax of Tolbert, taking them all, but going too fast into Grandpa Corner, and that lets Anelov slip by. The drivers doing all they can on this last lap to make up valuable places and gain extra points. This is Alan Berndt on his way to his best ever placing, and he's leading the Danes. Jokinen still in control, but Johansson's not given up and is fighting every inch of the way. And they're going into flight straight for the very last time. That's Lofgren and Berndt. And here's Anelov, but that looks like Neumann who's pushed Tolbert off and into the barrier. Goodness me, what a sad end to a really good scrap between these two drivers. looks more like a beach buggy than a Formula 4 car. And here are the leaders. Johansson trying desperately to get past Jokinen, but the young Finn seems to have all the answers. He's really covering all the angles here. So Kalle Jokinen takes the checkered flag first. Thomas Johansson is second. Then it's Kjell Andersen, Jan Lofgren and Alan Berndt. Kenneth Anelo and Ungi Salakvist and Hans-Johan Andersen, Mikael Bohm, Carl Bjarne Pedersen and Thomas Olsen. A really good race today. Plenty of action, plenty of excitement, plenty of drama, plenty of controversy as well. And spare a thought for this young man. He was a half a lap away from 15 points and a good lead in the Danish Championships. And he ends up with a wrecked car and no points at all. In the pits, Brian Tolberg was not a happy man.
Yes, this is Jan Neumann again. He did it again. Drive into me right in the side.
What happened?
Well,
I can tell you they're not the best of friends at the moment.
Okay, maybe I'm pushing it too hard, but
do you think that that he'll object to the judges?
no, I don't think so. Or if he does, I'm sure we can't do anything about it. We're racing and sometimes it happens.
Well, let's see it again. Neumann slides across, Tolberg runs out of options and ends in the barrier and immediately lodges a protest. Let's see it again, this time with our other camera. Tolberg is in car 27, is clearly leading, coming out of carousel, and Neumann pushes too hard on the inside. A member of the race jury saw the whole incident and decided it was dangerous driving and Neumann was disqualified. Back in the pits, Jokinen thought it was 3 wins in a row for him despite a problem at the start.
On the first lap I had a little crash, so my toe wings was wrong and the car was really bad to drive.
But then that second place, Thomas Johansson, telling the Finn that he'd slowed down at a yellow flag, and Jokinen had then overtaken him. Well, let's see it again, at the end of Flight Straight on lap 3.
No, but I was before the yellow flag.
Johansson is certainly slowing and Jokinen nips through on the inside. Look for the yellow flag by the hut. And here from another angle. And the other Finn, Jan Lofgren, did exactly the same. And if you overtake on a yellow flag, you're disqualified. So the Finns have come a long way for nothing. So the result, a win for Thomas Johansson and Team SKF. Second, Kjell Andersen and Ultra Motors. Third, his best result so far, Alan Berndt of Pennzoil Racing from Denmark. Hans-Johan Andersen, 6th place, earned him 2nd place in the Danish Championships. Carl Bjarne Pedersen was 3rd, and Thomas Olsen, by finishing 4th, picked up 10 valuable points and now leads in the Danish points table.